a lot of voters really don't like fake people, and they're sick and tired of fake politicians. And so what I actually think is worse is saying something you don't believe. And so if during the entire time in campaign season, you're saying that you're down with trans people or like the LGBT community, and then you lose an election, and then the next day you say all that stuff was wrong. I actually think what people are more upset about is someone was doing something they didn't believe and just saying something.
So now that this election is over, some Democrats are finally deciding that they want to be honest in terms of how they felt about Kamala Harris this entire time. And AOC is a prime example of that. Take a listen to the video that she posted, I believe, yesterday on Instagram stories.
Personally, I don't. I think that a lot of voters really don't like fake people, and they're sick and tired of fake politicians. And so what I actually think is worse is saying something you don't believe. And so if during the entire time in campaign season, you're saying that you're down with trans people or like the LGBT community, and then you lose an election, and then the next day you say all that stuff was wrong. I actually think what people are more upset about is someone was doing something they didn't believe and just saying something. Like, if you actually weren't about that life, why did you campaign as though you were?
Well, for once, I can say I do kind of agree with AOC on something. So folks, do us a big favor. We're going to tell you a lot about the civil war that is currently brewing within Democrat circles right now in today's video. So if you're enjoying the content, please make sure you hit that like button down below and subscribe to the channel if you are new. And why should you subscribe? Because it ensures we can keep bringing you these videos. We are almost at 400,000 subs. Let's get there before Trump's inauguration. Make sure you go and hit that red button. And look, I think AOC is right and wrong about this. What she is absolutely right about is that the American people do not like fake candidates, and it literally cannot get any faker than what Kamala Harris ran, where back in 2020, she was the most socially woke candidate of all of them. And magically in 2024, she's suddenly this like sensible, pragmatic, moderate. Nobody ever believed it. Never made any sense. So that's certainly true. She lacked authenticity, I guess we would say. But on the other hand, I also think that to argue that the woke is not a contributing reason why Democrats are losing elections is pretty freaking naive. Because first and foremost, I find it very difficult to believe that a candidate can be woke and not come off as insincere or not authentic at the same time. Because what are they based on? The whole thing is like virtue signaling, right? That's a big component of being or acting woke. And so everyone who tries to do the pronouns and the they, them, it comes off as very pretentious and insincere. Very often, nobody actually is applying that lifestyle to their personal lives because it's crazy. So that's number one. And then number two, I mean, the American people are rejecting the woke. And how do I know that? Because Trump's most effective ad from the 2024 election in terms of the ratings and the favorability it got, there's a reason they kept running this over and over again, was actually this campaign ad right here.
Kamala supports taxpayer-funded sex changes for prisoners.
Surgery.
For prisoners.
For prisoners. Every transgender inmate in the prison system would have access.
It's hard to believe, but it's true. Even the liberal media was shocked Kamala supports taxpayer-funded sex changes for prisoners and illegal aliens.
Every transgender inmate would have access.
Kamala's for they, them. President Trump is for you.
I'm Donald J. Trump, and I approve this message.
So yeah, it is important to note that the woke is indeed a big reason the Democrats lost this election. And when you break down some of the results, for instance, Los Angeles, California, tossing out the far left prosecutor, soft on crime guy, George Gascon, I believe the mayor of San Francisco actually lost re-election. That's certainly true, but that's not really the point of today's video. Today, we're really here to talk about the fact that there is a greater civil war that is brewing within the Democrat Party because they're all trying to figure out why we lost the election. There's a few different conclusions that people are coming to. First and foremost is obviously the talking point that, oh, we lost because the American people are racist and sexist. That is obviously not a serious approach. And even if it were true, doesn't really provide an answer for the Democrats in terms of how they can stop getting destroyed by Republicans in elections. So let's disregard that. But you first and foremost have a group of people, mainly progressives, kind of that Bernie Sanders wing of the Democrat Party, that say the embracing of the establishment, of the neocons, of the corporations that Democrats historically claim to be against, right? The abandonment of the working class, that is a big reason from an economic perspective why they are losing. And then there's the other camp that says it's the woke social policies that are destroying us in these elections. The truth is, the answer is both, right? They're both the main contributing factors as to why Democrats keep getting destroyed. But AOC is far from the only person who is trying to now be more aggressive towards their own party because of this internal conflict that is now brewing. Take a listen to what Bernie Sanders recently had to say.
The working class of this country is angry, and they have a reason to be angry. We are living in an economy today, Donna, where the people on top are doing phenomenally well, while 60% of our people are living paycheck to paycheck. 25% of elderly people are trying to get by on $15,000 a year or less. We have the highest rate of childhood poverty of almost any major country on earth, and parents all over this country worry that their kids may have a lower standard of living than they do. That is the economic reality. And what Donald Trump did is provided an explanation. He went around, he said, I know you're angry, and the reason is that zillions of illegal immigrants are coming over, and they're eating your cats and dogs and everything else. That's the reason. Well, obviously, that is not the reason. The reason is, in my view, that we have an unprecedented level of corporate greed today, more income and wealth inequality, and people on top want it all. And we need an agenda that says to the working class, we're going to take on these powerful special interests and create an economy and a government that works for you. And by the way, that can't happen unless you get big money out of politics. We got to get rid of the Citizens United Supreme Court decision so billionaires do not continue to buy elections.
Yeah, so here's the thing. I don't agree with Bernie on a lot of the issues, but his diagnosis for why Democrats are losing is completely spot on, right? Democrats, historically, their coalition is built on the working class, and they've totally abandoned them. You know, they said for years that the inflation people were experiencing, mainly in the working class, was just not real. Screw you. The Biden economy is doing great. We're the party of the corporations and the neocons now. And very interestingly, if you'll remember, very early into her campaign, Kamala did kind of embrace this message of left-wing economic populism, right? She said, we're going to take on the corporations. We're going to be the party of the unions. We're going to go after price gouging, all this stuff. Was it always insincere? Yes. Did I ever believe it? No, I didn't. But I did kind of worry about it a little bit because I said, hey, that's Democrats embracing that economic populism that, again, their party is historically built on, right? They're the party of the working class. That might resonate with some people, even if it's insincere. And then what direction did Kamala take instead? You know, she stopped campaigning with the union bosses and instead decided to embrace Mark Cuban, Liz Cheney, and like all the big Hollywood celebrities. And at that point, I said, okay, you know, they don't know what they're doing. And we got this election. And it turned out to be true. But it's interesting here. Bernie Sanders is not even the only Democrat now arguing this. Take a listen, for instance, to Chris Murphy, a senator from Connecticut, who has a very similar conclusion as to why the Democrats are losing.
2 seats. The ceiling for Republicans is 62 seats. That's unacceptable. And, well, nobody has all the answers right now. I certainly don't. What I think is most important is that we not kid ourselves. This is not a moment for small changes or reforms. This is a moment for a fundamental rebuild of the left. Just a couple decades ago, we could win races in Missouri and Florida and Ohio. Today, we get clobbered in all of those states. That's unsustainable for us and for this country. So here are a few thoughts that I have at the outset about the conversation we need to be having. First of all, we are not listening to the people we claim to represent. We claim to be the party of the working class, the party of poor people. And yet we let interest groups and think tanks tell us what those people need. That's why we end up with these relatively small ball solutions. I'm not saying they don't matter, but more roads and bridges, bulk negotiation of prescription drug prices, a little bit bigger tax credit for families with kids. That's not meeting the moment, because Americans are exhausted by a neoliberal economic order that has consolidated power in the hands of the few, that has forced them to become global citizens instead of having some unique local identity or a true sense of being an American citizen.
Now, you're probably asking yourself, wait, hold on a second. That is a Democrat who is saying that? Yes, that is a Democrat. But again, it's going to be very interesting to see really where the party goes from here. Because I will tell you right now, right? If they keep being the socially woke party on the social issues, and then the like neocon Mark Cuban party on the economic issues, that appeals to nobody. Right? It does not appeal to the working class, but that is like the conflict that the Democrat Party faces right now. And let me just say, okay, maybe I should not be giving free advice to the Democrats, but they're so stubborn. They don't really listen anyway. I'm sure already Bernie Sanders and Chris Murphy and people like that are getting shunned. In fact, Nancy Pelosi went out and said, screw you, basically, to Bernie on national TV. So it doesn't really matter. But I will say, strategically speaking, if the Democrats, first of all, dropped all the woke stuff, okay, and became like just a socially moderate party, and on the economic issues, embraced populism, became that pro-worker working class party again, without calling themselves socialist, which was a mistake I think Bernie made, especially back in 2016, they would be very hard to beat. I mean, that's just the truth, right? An economically populist, culturally and socially moderate party for the Democrats would be difficult to go up against. But instead, they do like the polar opposite of all those things. And you see in many cases, look at the mainstream media, very few figures on the Democrat side are actually taking accountability for their loss. They're just saying it's sexism and racism. And even those who are saying, okay, maybe we failed to appeal to the people, are they actually going to follow through on that? Because I wouldn't be surprised if a year or two from now, they just go back to being the same exact party. You know, these people really never learned their lessons. So I'm not exactly worried, I guess, about the Democrats at the current moment, but it will be something to watch for sure. And I'll just say, okay, I think either outcome, whether the Democrat Party figures out that it has to stop being crazy or not, is ultimately good for America. Because if they keep being the current party of the woke corporatists, like the two things nobody in this country really is a big fan of, then we're going to keep winning all the elections. They're going to keep getting steamrolled into irrelevance, and it's fine. But on the other hand, if they stop being insane, then that would also be good for the American political culture, because at the very least, again, we don't have one party in this country that is completely deranged. You know, it would not be the end of the world the next time the Democrat wins the election and just be, okay, we may disagree, but, you know, we're going to go back to a, I guess, healthier political climate, I would say. So either way, okay, Democrats, the ball is in your court. Either you can listen to, especially I think Chris Murphy, his take here was pretty on the money. To a degree, maybe listen a little bit to Bernie Sanders. You know, he does actually understand a lot. You know, because I think people kind of forget this about Bernie. When he initially came along in 2016, he was not super woke. Right? He was not even really big on the social issues. In fact, you could argue Hillary Clinton back then was the more woke candidate than he was. You know, the term Bernie bro originally came from basically Hillary Clinton supporters calling the Bernie supporters sexist, because Bernie didn't lean into the culture wars. He was just this like economic, kind of far left, kind of populist guy, however you want to frame it. But it did resonate with people. There's a reason why he came out of nowhere and almost became the Democrat nominee. He's sort of like the Democrat version of what Trump was, and then he sold out to the party. But apparently now he's going to go back to like calling out the party. I don't know, like I said, but it'll be very interesting to see again if the Democrat Party figures out this lesson or not, because, you know, doesn't seem like a lot of people are listening, but at least some Democrats are starting to sound the alarm. I don't really have a vested interest either way, but it's interesting to watch, to say the least. With that said, guys, let me know your thoughts on all of this in the comment section down below. Be sure to leave a like on this video, subscribe if you're new, and until next time, God bless and peace.